Same room. Oh,
Yes, it will be wonderful. I am longing for it.
I don't know. Longing is something, but it certainly would be a replacement for Zooming all the time.
Yes, yes.
It's more efficient. I don't know if
Didn't
totally more efficient to be together.
yes, didn't we put some screens up though? I thought in between our seats. I thought.
Yeah,
Getting-
that's up. Yeah.
Trevor, are we ready to go live at some point?
Is he there?
Yeah, Trevor's there. He's just connecting up now.
Okay, you want to just watch me here?
Wow. This is a record for a committee meeting, I think.
Hi, it's Janine again. The meeting is now live on YouTube, and you and Ashley can start when you're ready.
Okay.
Hey, Jack. This is Ashley. I don't think we don't have a quorum as of yet.
We don't have a quorum. 1, 2.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Dale is actually not a member of the committee.
Dale's not a member.
But there's nothing to vote on, is there? It looks like
There's nothing to vote on. It's all presentations.
It's
Correct.
presentation.
Yeah, we can start if you want. Only thing to vote on was the minutes, so we can start.
The only thing we
whenever
can't
you're
vote on is the minutes, right?
Right.
So we can start when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Jack, if you'd like, we can get Dan Brady to okay Dale Miller as a member, and then you could have quorum as an interim. But if not, we can proceed however you want to do it.
I think that in the deference to all the people that were here to make presentations, I don't think it's fair to
Okay.
keep waiting. And I know that everybody's on bated breath as to how whether we vote on up or down on the minutes, but I think we can bypass that that level of excitement.
Excuse
Sounds
me,
good.
Jack, it's Janine again. Scott and Nan are joining now, so you'll have a
Okay.
quorum.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you, Janine.
No problem.
Thanks, Gene.
No problem.
Can you tell they're there? Because my screen is maxed out with faces at this point in time. I don't know if it takes another face.
Yes, Jack. I see Nan.
Oh, I see Scott. Okay, there you go. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yep, just got here.
We're at 25. All right. Isn't there a max number, I think, or something? There is not? No. Okay. Well, all right. We'll call the meeting to order. Please take the roll.
Call the roll, Mr. Sharon.
Here.
Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. Ms. Baker.
Here.
And Ms. Simon.
Here.
We have a quorum. Also like the record to reflect that Councilmember Miller is also in attendance.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, Dale. Public comment. Is there any public comment been submitted by anyone?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has submitted any public comment.
Okay. And with the excitement of the next item on the agenda, I call for a review of the minutes of the July 27th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Moved. Is there a second? I heard a second. Any discussion in regards to the minutes or anything contained in the minutes? Hearing no discussion, that will, all in favor of the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. The minutes have been approved. First, let me start out by saying that there's no matters that's been referred to the committee. We have 2 matters for presentation, one on Workforce Connect and the other for an update from the Department of Development. Let me first start out by saying thank you to everybody who's here, taking their time away from their other activities to make their presentations, whether they be on the Workforce Connect or on the Department of Development. Sometimes the unsung aspects of economic development does not get picked up as far as what the people are going to making presentations here today, because this is where the background is and where the rubber hits the road, and a lot of the unsung aspects of economic development. Sonny was able to have an enjoyment last week when there was a ribbon cutting on an economic development project out there, and so that was very rewarding to see the jobs and the connection. What is going on between these 2 activities are the behind the scenes things that don't get a lot of excitement until you see a ribbon cutting or a job coming in or something of that nature. But I can be assured that assure everybody that this is as important and even more so in a lot of respects to what takes place in economic development. So with that, Mr. Carter, do you want to, seeing how this is your department, do you want to make any comments before going into either one of these, the Workforce Connect or your update on the department? You're going to have to come off mute, please. Ted?
Yes, okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I am not Michelle Pomerantz, as noted on the bottom of the screen, but sitting in her quasi office today since my computer had issues. Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to do is just consolidate both. I've got a brief statement that will cover both items and then go from there. But the majority of our time we want to reserve for the Workforce Connect team so that this committee can get an update and hear the great work that's ongoing, if that's okay with you.
That'd be fine. If you want to go ahead and give your,
Yes, sir. Okay,
your statement
thank you.
then.
Yep, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman Strawn and members of the committee. It's been a while since we've last seen each other, but I wanted to assure you that the Department of Development has been very busy. I want to take the opportunity today to provide some quick year-end highlights. In addition to our normal lending activity, the Department of Development, by the end of this week, will have led 4 rounds of stabilization grant funds as a result of the CARES Act funding to support our most vulnerable businesses that have been impacted as a result of COVID-19. Thus, we have supported over 1,000 small and minority businesses and provided more than $7 million in total funding. This has included a downtown recovery resource fund, a countywide small business resource center made operational during the first phase of COVID. This center, which we created from scratch, was operationalized in a matter of weeks during the first part of the crisis with our small business partners. We closed just last week the Arterra Social Impact Fund, which this body approved last year. Going back to the Small Business Resource Center, while no longer in operation, it has created stronger cohesion in the small business ecosystem. We have also provided critical operating support to increase the capacity of our small business partners to serve this vital community. We began the year with our contribution to the retention of Sherwin-Williams' global headquarters and research and development center, which led to the retention of 3,600 jobs in the county and a projected 400 new jobs in Brecksville. We were also able to work with our partners to secure the new investment of Gojo Industries in the city of Maple Heights with 200 new well-paying jobs. We also supported the St. Servan Center brownfield loan that will be used for environmental cleanup of commercial property in Warrensville Heights. Lastly, we are in the process of transmitting in the next few weeks formal approval for a loan for the Warner Swayze building, which will be a mixed-use project for workforce, affordable and workforce housing, as well as new jobs. We've continued to improve the collections through our loan portfolio efforts, seeing a significant uptick in collections, while with minimal deferments and bankruptcy so far in 2020. In this unique year, we have continued our commitment to building our economy and facilitating the creation of new jobs. I cannot thank this committee enough for your support, as well as the members of the Department of Development team who have achieved these results in a remote work environment. For 2021, in the first quarter, we have 5 projects on the horizon, a blend of real estate and business growth projects, promising, though 2021 remains uncertain. I'd like to shift gears now to provide an update on progress with respect to Workforce Connect, our signature strategic workforce initiative in the county. Workforce Connect is an effort to systemically strengthen Cuyahoga County's talent pool in 3 industries critical to private sector hiring: manufacturing, healthcare, and information technology. The goal to help these companies grow and thrive here, to connect workers to career opportunities in these in-demand industries, and to reduce fragmentation across our workforce system. This effort, as you will hear, also has a keen focus on addressing issues of equity. I want to provide a very quick background to refresh memories on this initiative. While most of you are familiar with its genesis, Workforce Connect grew out of the county executives' early meetings with the private sector, 100 meetings in 100 days, which found talent to be a major limiting factor for business growth. In 2016, the county convened the Workforce Funders Group of the major private and public funders to work together to develop solutions and create more effective strategic and tactical alignment in the workforce system. It's also focused on creating investment leverage of public and philanthropic dollars to ensure that business has the talent that they need to grow. Following a research process into best practices nationally, in 2018, 10 local funders committed to form an initiative now known as Workforce Connect to bring together employers and service providers through intermediaries in innovative ways to more effectively, equitably, and efficiently meet the needs of both business and workers. The county committed $1 million of catalytic investment to this effort out of my department's Economic Development Fund, matching an initial commitment from private funders of $1.5 million, which, as you will hear in this presentation, has attracted significant additional dollars and partnerships. The Workforce Connect initiative was formally structured. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Okay. Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. The Workforce Connect initiative was formally structured in late 2018 with the selection of Magnet and the Greater Cleveland Partnership to serve as co-intermediaries for the manufacturing sector. Healthcare and IT have followed with intermediaries Tri-C and GCP Right, respectively. We have a terrific set of speakers today representing these entities that will. Excuse me? Okay, that was the background noise. We have a terrific set of speakers today representing these entities that will provide more detailed insights to our collective work on the ground impacts and future objectives, including employers, a partner funder, and intermediary staff. This initiative has made great strides. All of the sector intermediaries are now operational despite significant headwinds. Just as Workforce Connect manufacturing transitioned from planning to implementation, COVID-19 dramatically impacted business and workforce hiring plans. Intermediary selection and director hiring processes for Workforce Connect Healthcare and IT were also delayed. Despite COVID challenges, you'll hear from employers today about their continued excitement, commitment, and the value of this long-term strategic effort, as well as our plans for the future. I'd be remiss, Mr. Chairman, if I did not, since I see her on the Zoom call, did not publicly thank Deborah Vesey, the former CEO of Deaconess Foundation, for her extraordinary leadership and work in this effort. Without her leadership after the departure of our former Chief of Staff, Sharon Sherwood-Jordan, this effort would not be where it is today, and really deeply grateful for her leadership, energy, and extraordinary commitment. But
you took some of my thunder with that.
I'm sorry?
You took some of my thunder. I was going to do the same thing.
Okay, all right. Her retirement ceremony was one of the most extraordinary departure ceremonies I've ever seen. And so we always were focused on the business of the day. And my regret is that I didn't get to know her better personally, but just look forward to doing that in her retirement phase. We're deeply grateful for her leadership. But she has a strong CEO coming in her shoes, Kathy Belt. My former partner from Jumpstart is now the CEO of the Deaconess Foundation. I'd like to turn over the presentation to her to introduce our guest. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And that was not Michelle, by the way. That was reported, even though it showed her name. That's right. Mr. Carter, does that cover your updates on the Department of Development, or is there going to be something subsequent to this?
Nope, that's it, Mr. Chairman. So I wanted to really get it in, but leave the bulk of our time for the workforce presentation, and also kind of set the stage indirectly that all of the work that we do is integrated in the department. So workforce is one dimension of the department, but very much connected to the economic development and job creation efforts. And so I think you'll begin to see how this tapestry fits together. So thank you for accommodating.
Yes, well, I know it was second on the list, and I just wanted to make sure that we cover that completely, because there's no reason we can't use the rest of our ramp time then to cover Workforce Connect.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The be all and end all. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Pretty darn exciting. It's my understanding that this is going to be kicked off by Kathy. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to join you today. I'm Kathy Belk. I'm the president and the CEO of the Deaconess Foundation. But as we were just saying, you may be familiar with my predecessor, Deborah Vesey, who has joined us today. She's enjoying a relatively new but a very well-deserved retirement. And you may recall that she was absolutely instrumental to the formation of the Workforce Connect initiative we'll be discussing today. Thank you, Deborah. I'm now leading the Deaconess Foundation after spending my entire career working in the private sector or supporting the growth of businesses, as I did most recently in my role as president of Jumpstart that Ted just alluded to. And from that lens, I'm acutely aware of the need for talent to be available to fill jobs and to allow companies to grow. As background, the Deaconess Foundation makes about $2 million a year in grants, and 100% of those dollars go to support workforce activities in Cuyahoga County. For the initiative that we're discussing today, Deaconess has committed almost $1.1 million, almost $500,000 in funding as part of the budget we'll be reviewing, and $600,000 in grants directly to the intermediaries. This is in addition to thousands of hours of time in leadership. And we're in this for the long term and expect to continue funding into the future. I don't think there's any more important initiative in our community. As for today's agenda, Ted and I will be providing you with a snapshot of the context and background before the stars of the show, the 3 sector collaborations and sector partnerships, who will be discussing their progress, and then we'll be delighted to take questions. So why don't we go to the next slide, please. So Workforce Connect is the brand name of our collaboration in Cuyahoga County, which is led by employers and includes private and public sector funders and nonprofit service providers. I'll say it again because this is critical. It's led by employers who come together to identify their greatest shared talent needs. They then work with the intermediaries who work with the other collaborators, the funders and the nonprofits, who prepare job seekers to meet those employer needs. The goal of this is to dramatically increase the volume and success in filling open roles at employers by ensuring qualified job seekers. We have 3 of these Workforce Connect collaborations, 1 each in our critical growth sectors of manufacturing, healthcare, and IT, and you'll hear updates on all 3 of those today. You can see some of the additional goals below at the bottom of the slide, but I'll highlight the first one, which Ted also highlighted, a focus on increasing race equity and closing disparities in employment rates and the success of all employees. Let's go to the next slide. Because employers are so critical to this type of collaboration, it's important that we have such strong involvement here in the county, and we do. If you see the manufacturing partnership, it was the first one which started and has been in place since 2019. As you can see, more than 40 employers are actively engaged, representing more than 20% of the manufacturing workforce. The healthcare partnership, which was started just a few months ago, has 100% of hospitals participating and collaborating. And the IT sector partnership, which is just getting started under the leadership of GCP and Wright, is rapidly engaging with employers as we speak. But because of the credibility that GCP and Wright have, they're having great success in that engagement. One related note at this point, with the manufacturing collaboration more mature than the other 2, we anticipate that in 2021, the healthcare and IT collaborations will be able to learn and move very quickly as a result of learnings from manufacturing. And in fact, all 3 intermediaries will be able to test and learn, to adapt, and to scale their work by being able to learn from each other. Let's go to the next slide. Ted, did you want to comment here?
On mute. Yes, thanks, Kathy. This slide shows the structure of our partnership, and I just asked you to kind of look at the composition of the Workforce Funders Group. I think one of the big successes has been the collaborative nature of this diverse group of investors. And so our money has been leveraged almost 3 to 1. So the commitment was $2.9 million over 3 years. $1 million of seed capital from the county. And then there's been an additional $1.8 million, both from our philanthropic partners as well as business-led sources. This has also led to new alignment with new initiatives like the state's Ohio to Work initiative, which is going to provide additional capital into the county with respect to training, which we're going to align with. We are aligning with Ohio Means Jobs. And so this is just an important accomplishment that is not insignificant, and I think it's a model for our economic development space more broadly. So
the last slide here of overview before we get into the updates of the 3 different Workforce Connect partnerships. Ted spoke a bit about the budget in his comments. I won't repeat what he'll said, but as a fellow funder to this initiative and to the intermediaries, I'll just offer 2 comments. The first is I'm incredibly appreciative of the county's financial participation in supporting these 3 intermediaries and the activities of Workforce Connect. The county's involvement has been critical to the success and the progress thus far. And secondly, the manufacturing collaboration, as the first one implementing programs, has sufficient funds for 2021, but will need to secure funding by this time next year for 2022 and beyond. I know we at Deaconess are very committed long-term funders, and we hope all existing funders, including the county, will continue to support this long-term transformational approach to meeting employer needs. So with that said, we're going to kick it off with Workforce Connect Manufacturing, and I'll turn it over to employers Andrew Jackson and Stephen Levis and Adam Snyder from Magnet.
Great, thank you, Kathy. My name is Stephen Levis. As Kathy said, I'm an executive vice president at Nordson Corporation. I got involved with the Workforce Connect and particularly the manufacturing sector partnership, because Cuyahoga County is my home, and it's also the headquarters of Nordson Corporation. And while we're a very global company, we have almost 850 employees based here in Northeast Ohio. You know, I think that it goes without saying, but I think we always need to keep reminding ourselves that manufacturing is such a critical industry for Northeast Ohio, for the county, and really provides tremendous opportunities for citizens from all parts of our community. And as an industry, you know, we have a strong future, but it's really important that we tackle critical issues that we face to ensure that we're successful. And one of those critical elements, as I know we'll talk through today and have talked in the past, is talent. It's attracting talent into our industry to help offset, you know, people that are retiring, to help fill jobs for growing companies, and also ensure that talent continues to be able to develop from a skill set perspective as our industry continues to change and continues to face competitors from all walks of life, and certainly competitors on a global stage. I think Mr. Carter, you know, in his overview comments, made an important comment about strategic alignment. There are obviously a lot of great companies in the county and in the region, and there really are a tremendous number of great organizations, educational institutions, and government departments that do a tremendous amount to help us. But I saw the opportunity in the sector partnership to really help provide that strategic alliance and to think about how all of these organizations can come together to help solve and address this talent issue, both short and long term. While, you know, if you look at that list of 40 employers that was covered earlier, you know, some of us compete against each other, and we all compete for talent. But I think there's so much common ground where we can work together to fill this gap that we have as an industry. And I think that's what we've been doing. And I know Adam's going to present shortly, and then Andrew will also cover some of the great things that we've been doing. And that's what energizes me to continue to be involved, and for Nordson to continue to be involved in the sector partnership. I do just want to pause for 1 minute to thank the county for its support of the sector partnership, and particularly for the funding for the intermediaries. You know, they have been really critical in helping us to come together as employers to develop our vision and now to move into the implementation of that division. So I appreciate the support, and I hope that you'll continue to support us over time. I think you're going to see a lot of great things we've done. Yes, the pandemic has impacted us. We have pivoted on different programs, but I think we all remain committed to the long term, which is addressing the challenges and in talent that we have both short and long term. So maybe I'll just cover on the next slide very briefly the vision on behalf of the entire sector partnership, and that it really is that the manufacturing sector in Cuyahoga County continues to be a growth engine for the people and the economy of Northeast Ohio by being the manufacturing education capital of the US and investing to unlock an abundance of diverse, skilled people who can access, thrive in, and love their careers in manufacturing. With that said, I'll pass it over to Andrew, who's going to talk more about the programs. And again, thank you for your support and continued support in the future. Adam?
Thank you, Stephen, both for the handoff and for representing the manufacturing leadership team effectively. You guys saw on the left side of that slide the dozen or so executives, owners, CEOs, COOs that have been truly passionate about this work and have, to take calls like this to speak on their own behalf along with the intermediary team. And as I jump in from that entry point that Stephen shared the vision and the evolution of the manufacturers coming together, setting that vision in a collaborative way, and then breaking down that vision into strategies. You'll see 3 initial strategies here, and I will warn the council members, we could speak energetically and passionately on what's been done over the last 18 or 20 months for a full day. So we are going to scream through a bit of content in a number of minutes here and are well open to questions. And we'll also be inviting you to dig a little deeper in January with us about what we've been doing. The first of 3 strategies that we broke down was really to leverage the strength of our education community and training community in Northeast Ohio. Typically, manufacturing training runs about half full over the last 5 to 10 years. If you look at the capacity rates, and the manufacturers really diving into how do we help support filling those programs as a stepping stone towards future innovation. The second strategy around developing and implementing innovative on-ramps to career paths in manufacturing was a nod to the manufacturer's desire to really tap into underserved populations, an acknowledgement of the desire to recruit more people of color, more women, more young people into the manufacturing ranks in ways and in numbers that haven't been done before. And the third strategy, really an acknowledgement to the fact that we've got a really broad and diverse group of manufacturers, of leaders, and a deep pool of manufacturers at this point that represent over 20% of the manufacturing employment in the county. And the key components at the bottom here, as we whittled down from a generated list of almost 85 possible strategies down to 3, the manufacturers felt strongly that each of our strategies should include things like diversity and inclusion, work-based learning, technology, to ensure that we're incorporating those things into all of our tactics. And in particular, go ahead, Janine. I want to touch on the diversity and inclusion piece, just the timeliness of it and the depth of it we'll touch on quickly, but the employers have done some really remarkable collaborative work, came together. Almost all of the MLT companies participated in the GCP D&I assessment last year as a benchmarking and action item identification tool and exercise. 14 of our manufacturing executives attended the REI groundwater training around racial equity, and now we have a handful of the manufacturers on behalf of the rest of the group driving the development of an equity and inclusion scholarship program for Cuyahoga County African-American students either going into engineering or already into engineering from high school, from incumbent worker states, or already enrolled. Next slide, please. Those 3 strategies, if you follow the color coding, got broken down into a number of action teams. The first strategy around filling the training programs, I'm going to touch on each of these action teams briefly so that I can get into some of the outcomes and early wins. The first action team really focused on high school recruitment, specifically initially non-college bound high school seniors. How do we get them more aware of manufacturing? How do we get them into training programs? And how do we put our arms around them and help them get into the industry? The second, that Map the Process team, really focusing on how do we drive additional incumbent worker upskilling activity, particularly in common needs across many manufacturers like machining and Industry 4.0. The next strategy there, the first one in the innovative on-ramp section, has been evolving like many things with COVID, really to support what started as underemployed population, and as we saw an acute need with displaced and at-risk workers, has evolved to include unemployed and dislocated and really adults looking to transition into a stable career and stable sector like manufacturing. The fourth line item in there, the population-specific on-ramps, you'll hear about both from me on the next slide, but also from Andrew, another one of our employers. And the employers really dialed in on re-entry as the first population they wanted to go after, seeing a real intersection between opportunity, with 3,000 folks coming out of the prison system into Cuyahoga County every year, the intersection with the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that they're passionate about, since that population is typically overrepresented with the groups we're trying to recruit, and also the opportunity to create a platform and a process that could be expanded to other populations as well. Next slide, please. So early wins. Really excited to share a couple of things here. We'll be excited to share some more depth in January for those of you if we can coordinate calendars, but the first one being really digging in deep. The first action team of the sector partnership aligned with the career pathway work at CMSD last spring, did a bunch of great work to work with teachers and counselors, got in front of a couple hundred students last year, additional students this fall, and also ended up graduating our first class of Access Young Adult a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be inviting you to a next graduation ceremony for that as well. We'll be targeting about 100 more students in 2021. There's some challenges right now, as everybody knows, with staying in touch with students when they're remote, getting in front of them, getting them engaged through virtual means. But really still passionate about this work is really critical to the future of our industry and talent. The next line item here, a really great opportunity that came about this summer to pull Cuyahoga County in a collaboration with Team NEO, Jobs Ohio, Greater Cleveland Partnership, Magnet, for the Jobs Ohio to Work pilot. We are targeting 700 placements and 150 training enrollments in this initial couple-month pilot. A lot of moving parts in this, and Jobs Ohio is committed to bringing both funding and resource support to Cuyahoga County around this initiative through 21 and likely through all of 22. And the last one, which will be part of my transition here, is many of you may have seen either some highlights in the pre-read video that we sent out or a number of articles in Cranes and Freshwater Cleveland, some really great success around employers collaborating with our workforce partners to design and develop a programmatic intervention with specific technical and soft skill curriculum, working hard to braid public funding with philanthropic funding and employer contribution. And at this point, we've now graduated 2 cohorts of the Access Reentry program. We have graduated 23, and we will be planning to run approximately a cohort per quarter of 25 for this program in 2021, and just an inordinate amount of success stories and really passion and emotion moving statements from both the graduates and the employers, really seeing some phenomenal process change with the employers as well as successes from the job seeker side. I will now pass along to someone who is even more capable of talking about the success and wins within that program, Andrew Jackson, the CEO of Elson's International.
Thank you, Adam. My name is Andrew Jackson. I am CEO of Elson's International. we're located on the east side of Cleveland in the Collinwood area, near Jurgens, in fact, Jack Schroen's company. But I want to talk a little bit about why I got involved and why I stay involved. And then lastly, the most impactful thing for me out of the program. The first one is Chris Nance gave me a call and said, Andrew, we're doing a manufacturing sector partnership. And then Chris put Adam Snyder on me, and then Adam came over to speak with me. And he sold me at the beginning because I liked the idea of it being a collaborative effort with for-profits and not-for-profits working together with the private sector, and then intermediaries working together. So it made sense to me because collaboration always brings value. But why I stay involved is because it fits with my core values. Our company for a long time has always hired ex-offenders. We believe that one of the efforts here is reentry. And we firmly believe that people deserve a second chance in life. You made a mistake, you paid your debt to society, and you deserve to have a job to give your family a decent lifestyle. You deserve some benefits, and you deserve to be treated with some dignity. So we believe in the core values of what the program represents. But the other thing I tell you is the most impactful thing, and I tell the story to the other 14 CEOs one day, is that I used to come into my facility on the plant side. And then I started coming on the executive side. So I decided I should be a servant leader, and I would just come in on the plant side all the time. So one day I came on the plant side, and I have about 25 employees in the plant, and I saw 8 vehicles in the parking lot. And I was startled because if you're in manufacturing, you know that if there are no workers, there are no machines running, and you don't have any product being produced, and you can't ship. And so I went to the plant manager and said, where's everybody at? And he said, everybody's here today. And I said, no, they're not here because I only see 8 cars in the parking lot. It turns out that most of my guys were riding the bus to work. They catch the bus from the north side of town, downtown to the public square, and come back up to the south side of town, or vice versa when they go home. But about 6-8 months later, somebody called me and said, we have to talk about parking. And I said, we have to talk about parking. They said the parking lot is full, and we're having a difficult time finding parking spaces. And that's because the program was working. That's because people were learning to save their money. They were getting back on track, and they were full of cars. So the most impactful thing to me is I see us making a difference in people's lives. And a program like nothing more than accelerate the efforts that we have. So we're going to stay involved. But my last statement to you is I think that if you want to learn more about it, I think we're going to have a deep dive in January that we'll invite you to. We're having a group of people who graduated in March in our access program. So we invite you to take a look at that and take a deeper dive. And thanks for letting us speak with you today.
Great, thanks so much, Andrew. That's great to hear the impacts that you're seeing from this work. My name is Sue Krejci. I lead the Workforce Connect Healthcare Sector Partnership. Having launched in August, we're not quite as mature as manufacturing, but we are learning a lot from them and really look forward to working with them and IT, which will hopefully allow us all to go further faster. I want to introduce Kim Shelnick, who's the Vice President of Talent Acquisition for University Hospitals, our county's second largest employer. Kim has been an integral champion of this work since its inception, and I will turn it over to her to briefly update you on the sector partnership's progress and plans for healthcare.
Thanks, Sue. I really appreciate that intro, and happy to be here. And can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So as early progress for the Workforce Connect Healthcare Sector Partnership, as mentioned earlier, we are excited to say that we have 100% participation from all the hospital systems. So that in itself is fantastic. Coming together, we now have 3 strategies that we are currently working on. The first is to expand existing workforce development programs to really focus on building our pipelines into advancement pathways and focusing on under-resourced communities with high unemployment. So through collaboration, we've learned that the hospital systems already have successful workforce programs. However, we're really challenged in growing them due to funding and additional barriers that our candidates are facing. The second team is to build alignment and capacity at the education and training provider level for in-demand health careers to ensure jobs upon graduation. I think we all know that we have significant supply and demand gaps within healthcare, so we really have to come together and share our data with the education institutions. And our third is to increase early healthcare career exposure with a focus on in-demand health careers. So as we go on to the next slide, I do want to give you a high-level update on our next steps, and that's to establish a framework for a sector-wide pilot of a workforce development program and programs for entry-level positions. Specifically, we want to build upon success of current programs, but combine them for all hospital systems with a much stronger focus on eliminating barriers for our potential candidates and those in the community. And then our second is to work with community-based organizations in neighborhoods with high unemployment to increase recruitment. So for example, both university hospitals and the Cleveland Clinic right now are focusing on how do we come together and collect similar data. And we're looking at technology to be able to do geo-mapping into the neighborhoods. So we know that we really are hiring from those areas with the highest unemployment. So work currently is being done to be able to do that and create very specific goals. And then our next is to articulate career ladders for entry-level positions. This is a lot of work because there are so many different jobs in healthcare, and we want to be able to consistently, with all the healthcare systems, show what those career pathways are for entry level and be thoughtful about how they're similar across the healthcare organizations so that we're not confusing our talent in the community. And then last, we want to complete an analysis of training programs with a focus on employment and retention outcomes, so we know which educational institutions we really do need to focus on and grow the programs. And I know this was a quick update, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm going to now hand it over to Craig Platt, who is the Managing Director of the Workforce Connect IT Sector Partnership.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Craig Platt. I'm the Managing Director of the Workforce Connect IT Sector Partnership. And although we're in the early stages of our partnership, we're making very good progress. GCP Wright was named the intermediary for our sector partnership in late summer, and I joined the team in mid-October. And since then, we've been working on recruiting and establishing our IT leadership team. Can we go to the next page, please? And I said manufacturing because I sat down with Adam when we were starting and asked him what the best practices were and what did I need to be clear of? What were the lessons learned? And I created this page for recruiting the employers based upon the feedback I got from Adam. Thus far, we have 14 employers on our leadership team. And it's a diverse set of businesses, including manufacturing, finance, technology, and insurance companies. But also, it's a diverse set of leadership team members from a race and gender perspective on that team. We had a soft launch kickoff at the Northeast Ohio CIO Forum. And as an outcome of that meeting, 4 or 5 more businesses raised their hand and said, we're interested in being on that leadership team or being part of the solution. So we are vetting them now. We kick off in January with the employer-led strategy and planning and action planning sessions. There's a lot of excitement building around that. And as Kathy already said, since other teams have blazed the trail, we're expected to go fast. So we accept that challenge. With me today is John King, Corporate Vice President, Information Systems and Business Processes with the Lubrizol Corporation. I'll turn it over to John for his comments.
Great, thank you, Craig. Apologies, you'd think an IT guy would know how to unmute his computer here. I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you. This is an area that I know Lubrizol and myself are very passionate in creating opportunities for our partners here in Cleveland and the talent in Cleveland. Too often, I think in the Cleveland area, IT talent thinks they need to leave the region to get a job. And there are so many organizations here in Cleveland looking for IT talent. And we obviously have a big gap here. I sit on the board of Breakthrough Schools and on the board of Digital C. And to me, there's a great opportunity to connect talent and potential talent with organizations in the region. And for me, what I've seen is in many cases, when you look at all of this, there's a gap in communicating opportunities at companies today for students to co-op and intern, to students that are here in Northeast Ohio or going elsewhere but want to come back to Northeast Ohio. And a lot of times we lose a lot of talent because they don't get connected here to the region and the regional companies. And so as I've worked with and had some discussions with Craig and Courtney, I'm really excited about what this brings. It also brings an opportunity to change the organization and the hiring organizations. For me, we have to stop looking at specific skill sets and start really looking at potential. And we have the perfect example recently where I was connected to an alumni of Breakthrough Schools that went to school in engineering. And when I first met her, she had so much potential, but we had to think about adjacencies in her career. We had to think differently about how we'd approach the potential that she brought the organization. And so we took her engineering degree and now she supports our manufacturing automation solutions at Lubrizol. And so as we go through all this, making the connections with the organizations, at the same time, it's looking differently at the opportunities that we can create an organization for the talent that's here. I'm just excited to work with Craig and Courtney and my colleagues around the region to keep all of the wonderful talent in Northeast Ohio here and make them successful. So thank you for the opportunity to spend the time with you.
Thank you. We're going to turn it back over to Ted now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and our private sector partners. Just terrific update, and really appreciate your contributions and commitment to this initiative. So as you've heard, Mr. Chairman, you've gotten a background, you and the committee members gotten a background on Workforce Connect and the way that this partnership is driving systems change. And so that is not an inconsequential achievement. We are actually changing the way this community works together, both in the public and nonprofit sectors, as well as the private sector. So you've heard some of that from the employers. So getting competitors to work together toward a common goal. So we have 3 active partnerships in these critical in-demand sectors, more than 65 employers involved, which is really a quite significant accomplishment. We've been able to sustain the Workforce Connect partnership over 3 years. And so I can tell you that we meet monthly. No one has fallen by the wayside. Everyone remains very committed to the ultimate success within our system of getting people employed and placed. And then we've been able to pool and align funding, which is more than $3 million. So it was $3 million when we conceived this. Was that a great success in terms of attracting and integrating new funding opportunities. And we expect full implementation in 2021. I'd also say that this has really operationalized and converged with our equity efforts. And so you heard from each of the employers, their focus on equity, the importance of that to hiring success in the long term. And so as we land on how we impact equity in this community, these would be good efforts to point to. And I'm really pleased with the pilots that have been established in the manufacturing sector that Adam talked about, both with respect to training, the on-ramps, the unconventional on-ramps from non-traditional manufacturing sectors that they've put in place. The scholarship program, I think, is very innovative and was conceived almost a year ago. And so really looking forward to the successful result of that. And then Kim talked about the early exposure to some of these occupations and industries that some communities just don't have. And so I think this will change that paradigm as this takes full effect. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Kathy. Oh, we can take questions.
Everybody, just had to unmute. Thanks very much for the opportunity to present. I think we're ready for questions.
Okay, if we can drop the slides off the back and bring up our, that, so we can see everybody's smiling faces, that's great. Couple of things I would like to start out with before we get going a little bit is that thanks Kathy and for picking up on the big shoes you had to fill from Deborah because clearly she set a very, very high bar and I'm excited to see you picking up. One of the things that got referenced in there was the $3 million that has been put forth by the community in this pack, but you also referenced 65 employers. If you take the number of dollars and hours and also the support, I think you're going to find that of the time being invested is going into the millions of dollars on the that doesn't get shown up on the ledger of that. If you take 65 people times, I know the multiple meetings that took place in the various different groups from 3 different sectors, you're probably looking at $3 to $4 million. I'd be willing to bet in labor invested time hours in regards to that. I also know that we had an update early on in the Economic Development Committee from the folks at Team NEO. They placed the GDP of just these 2 sectors that they can identify specifically because they're identified sectors at within the manufacturing at $43 billion as far as the GDP impact for Northeastern Ohio. And they placed the impact of the medical community at $24 billion. And all sectors need the third one, which is the folks from the IT. By way of background, I just want to lay out a little background for me personally, that as a council member, this is, we try and balance our private and public life, our partnership out there in part-time. So I wanted to let everybody know that I do have a commitment to education, second chance. For those of you who know me, and special needs education as far as part of what we are. And before you saw my name on there on the manufacturing sector partnership as far as being one of a group of many out there supporting the concepts. I did go to the IG and say, and asked it and said, could I serve in the sector partnership leadership side of the aisle? And as long as it was of a generic nature, of which I get no benefits other than the concept that we're growing jobs for our entire region, which is good for everyone. I just wanted to let you know that I did do that verification beforehand. And so with that, I throw this open to questions for any of our colleagues and our guest council person out there, and we'll do our best to try and recognize all the great work that everybody that's on this call has done already. So with that, is there a first person who would like to ask a question out there or make a comment?
I'm willing to do so.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
Well, thank you very much. And I just want to start by saying that that this work is extraordinarily important. And I think for decades, our workforce programs have been fragmented among various piecemeal initiatives out there. And this is a serious effort to bring this together into a cohesive package. And I would like to ask a few questions. The first is to Mr. Lovas, and he said that about half of the manufacturing training slots are typically unfilled. And my question is, under this new program, have we been able to improve upon that? And if so, to what extent?
Thanks, Mr. Miller. And I'll also probably pass it over to Adam, after I'll give my comments, who can talk a little bit more specifically at this. I think, we've taken 2 layers of seeking to approach this. One is a longer term one of thinking about, why are those programs at times unfilled? And part of that is beginning at the base level of getting people to be understanding what the industry is, what it can be for them in terms of career path. Obviously getting people to be interested is part of filling them, and then making sure that those programs continue to evolve, so to speak, as our needs as employers change. Adam, maybe you could talk specifically. Certainly this year has been, we have been impacted, but maybe I'll pass it to Adam to talk a little bit about kind of the impact short and as we see in the future.
Great, thanks, Stephen. And to reiterate that, in particular, that one, that strategy is a tough play. We know that people in the community, there's statistics both locally and nationally about how poorly understood and aware people are of manufacturing in general in our community. People don't see manufacturing plants in their normal course of growing up or living their lives, which is a big part of what we're doing in our key partnerships with the workforce agencies, with CMSD and other school districts. We are seeing a nice uptick in utilization of training resources as we get in touch with people, particularly in the last 9 months, where there's opportunity for dislocated or unemployed folks to get into training opportunities. Not that we're going to take full credit for the impact of the pandemic on people's opportunities to get into training programs, but from a systems change standpoint and aligning manufacturers with education partners, as well as additional resources, the ability to pull together initiatives like Ohio to Work with Jobs Ohio, the Department of Labor Scaling Apprenticeship Grant for Cuyahoga County and for the state as a whole, as well as a bunch of initiatives at Tri-C, at CITC, CVCC to really partner in how do we better recruit. So we're seeing some early wins, and I think one of the things that Stephen touched on post-pandemic, really poised to see that hockey stick when we've got the tools in place and we're once again in the classroom with students able to engage a little more emotionally and in person.
For me, Mr. Miller, with your permission, let me just add to what Adam just talked about in terms of leverage. So one of the reasons why the governor selected Cuyahoga County as a pilot for Ohio to Work was the presence and establishment of this collaborative. They felt that the foundation that has been built here would enable the Ohio to Work program to accelerate rather than going to a new county where there wasn't an integrated workforce effort underway. And so that was one of the major reasons they selected. So that has brought not only new resources, but a new approach to evaluating talent outside of a traditional resume and looking at other skills that intuitively residents may have for these sectors. And so we're excited about that leverage opportunity. And that will lead, you saw a reference on one of the slides about the 750 projected placements as a result of the state's investment. So we've already seen training dollars that have been allocated, and I'm happy to work with OMJ to get you some specific numbers around what has happened since that project has launched about 2 months ago now.
So thank you very much for the responses. And my second question is, how much of the workforce development universe is covered by the three sectors of manufacturing, healthcare, and IT?
When you say the
Kathy or Ted, I don't want to put you on the spot on that.
Yeah. I couldn't give you a specific number, Councilman Miller, but I'd say the majority. If you go back to that slide that I paused on, where you saw the different brands of the workforce system, the majority of the workforce system, certainly the major actors are participants in this effort. Probably not 100%, but when you add in the providers that are part of this effort, the funders, it's well over the majority. I'd say over 80%.
And
Dale, that can be answered a different way also. It can be answered on the basis of not just the workforce in the jobs, but on the economic development impact as far as the GDP, which is what I think I was alluding to from Team NEO. They put the manufacturing sector at $43 billion with the GDP for Northeastern Ohio, and the medical at $24 billion. So between those two, they're clearly far and ahead of in their number one and number two positions.
Okay, thank you. And my final question is I'd like to get some idea of the participants in these programs. How is it dividing between the entry level group and the career pathway group? That is to say, in the first group, those who are unemployed and trying to get into the workforce, and in the second group, those who are already in the workforce and are involved in that upskilling and career pathway process that you're talking about.
Do you mind taking that?
I think I can speak uniquely to the manufacturing perspective, and I think there'll be some overlap, but maybe worth jumping to Sue or Kim for additional perspective. For the manufacturers in particular, we've seen a talent shortage for the last decade easily. So many manufacturers had developed internal training programs for skilled labor and for career path. So initially there was a lot of focus by the manufacturers on let's bring in entry level talent because we have mechanisms to train them. And also when we want to bolster incumbent worker upskilling, we need entry level workers that can backfill that person that wants to move up into a CNC machinist or an engineering role or a leadership role. So it was really a twofold focus on entry level that we doubled down on in the first year and a half of the sector partnership work. And now at this point, with a couple of mechanisms underway, we're starting to shift into the skilled labor and professional incumbent worker upskilling, the scholarship program, some of these other initiatives to bolster the additional pathway work within manufacturing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any of my colleagues on council have questions?
If I may ask, Chair.
Sure, Mrs. Baker.
First of all, excellent questions, Dale. Really informative in finding out what those answers were, so very good. I guess my question would be, and I'm thinking of, those that perhaps don't have the skills or are struggling in school or, are going on from middle school to high school. How do you reach out to those that perhaps are the most difficult to employ and convince them that this is a not only an entry level, but a career path that keeps them in school, and then something to look forward to either while they're still in school, do they work part-time to kind of get their feet wet, to understand what you're talking about? Or is this something that you recruit after they graduate from high school? How do you attract those students that are probably the hardest to employ, given that they don't really understand the field? How do you actually talk to them and get into their world and introduce manufacturing or IT or medical?
A really insightful question, especially in the context of some of the things we shared about wanting to tap into populations that haven't been as well recruited from. And it's definitely one of the golden threads through the sector partnership work is that we have a really rich community and workforce ecosystem in Cuyahoga County. 60, 70 workforce agencies, CDCs, community partners. And one of the core tenets of how we're all doing this work is to not replicate existing systems. And so we could talk endlessly about the great partnerships with Ohio Means Jobs and Towards Employment and Newbridge and the community organizations and the school districts, and really leveraging the relationships that those organizations and their staff have with the individuals, because it comes down to who are they going to listen to when you're telling them about a manufacturing job or a healthcare job or tech skills that they need to learn in order to get into one of these. The trusted relationships and the existing channels to talk to those folks are not able to be replicated. So when we talk about the reentry pilot, for example, the first 2 cohorts of that reentry pilot were collaboratively recruited by 13-ish workforce organizations and community organizations that already existed, that had relationships with that population. And those are things that the sector partnership can help accentuate. And the feedback we're getting from those partners is that we've never had employer engagement like this, and that helps us. And we've never had the opportunity to braid funding in this way, and that helps us. And you're helping us solve some of the reporting nuances around collaborating between workforce agencies. So we're really trying to find the obstacles that get in the way of that collaboration, get them out of the way, and then let that collaboration do the magic that it should.
Thank you.
Pile on with Adam's comments from an IT perspective. We have a great intermediary partner, GCP Wright, that's been working in school systems K through 12 for a while. Right. The other, so again, don't need to replicate the channels. They've got success there. The other thing we have to do is show these students the excitement of IT. It's not the old mainframe. It's not your grandfather's IT anymore. We're talking about embedded sensors. We're talking about Alexa, smart devices, everything talking, smart cities. It's more gamification of all this. And that's where they get excited. I remember my son, my wife was working in San Francisco for Accenture. And I took my son out there and he got a job testing the new Madden software. Part-time, couldn't believe it. You know, so we have to show them the new things in IT, and more of that stuff is making its way into your standard everyday information technology. We got to show them the newness.
Thank you for that.
Hey, Craig, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody refer to my grandfather's IT. We've heard it a lot in manufacturing, but that was the first time. My grandfather didn't use a lot of IT.
Well, I've been in IT for over 40 years, so sorry for that slip.
No, thank you very much for replicating that. Yes.
That is true. That was well. I guess just the follow-up to that then, and I'm sure that, you know, I've heard great things about the, what is it, the organization that works with our schools. But do you have tours? Do they take tours of our facilities? Do they come in and take a look at hands-on of what a manufacturing company looks like now? Where, as you just explained, the IT is at a level that may not be something you can talk about, but hands-on, you know, you've got them. Is that all happening with our organizations and our partners?
Yeah, the healthcare and manufacturing employers were and sector partnership intermediaries were at the front of the CMSD work last spring to really bring employers and career exposure into the district and continue to push that. A little more challenging in the current environment with some of the restrictions on people moving around and getting into facilities, but we've also gotten we've had to get more creative about virtual tours and recorded experiences and how to engage students. But we know that, as you said, hands-on and immersion, there's very little substitute for that type of experience and getting somebody engaged and excited. Question.
Thank you. To see, and I appreciate you giving us this time today to have a peek at what you're doing. And I look forward to hearing more in January when you come back. And
Kim, I see you nodding your head up there too. You look like you're ready to make some comments.
Hi, everyone. Oh, are you talking to Kim or Ted?
Yeah, Kim.
No, go ahead, Kim. I'll come after you. Go ahead. You have a chance to say anything.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that I completely agree with everything that Adam was saying regarding the workforce ecosystem. Same thing in healthcare. We're going to work with the ecosystem from Ohio Means Jobs to Towards Employment to Newbridge. They're the experts. They know how to get into the community and find the talent that is unemployed, that we can really work on those barriers. So I love how Adam said that, and it's exactly what we're focusing on right now within healthcare.
Ted, yes, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment, Councilwoman Baker. I'm often, every time I listen to you, I think about your questions to me at these hearings about particularly when we're reviewing a 5-year plan, how can your office do so much? Why are you involved in so many initiatives? And this is an example of how we do that. And it's one of the most critical ones, and why this will warrant support in the future is we leverage our partners. So we have great partners, both private and nonprofit partners on this hearing today. But one of the things that we also try to do is integrate it with our broader strategy. So to your question, Adam, so one of the things that this initiative is aligned with is the Cleveland Innovation Project. And one of the core initiatives there is Manufacturing 4.0 and Magnet's new headquarters in the Midtown area, where they will have a demonstration manufacturing facility that will be integrated with CMSD, bring students to the facility, see the manufacturing office and floor of the future, get exposure, and then hopefully get excited about going into this industry. So this is this example of how all this ties together and how we leverage.
Good to hear that. Yeah, thank you for that. And that's exactly where I was going. So I appreciate it, because we've been listening to you for quite a while since I've been with the county council, and this really does bring it together to show us how all of these different factions have been able to work together, and look forward to, like I said, hearing more when you get more into the weeds of the actual engagement with our students. And hopefully with this pandemic passing through next year and ending, we will be able to get those kids back into their hands-on mode of learning. So thank you, all of you, for all your work.
Other council members, any questions from anybody else?
Sorry, Jack, I'm not a council member, but I'd like the record to reflect that Councilwoman Stevens joined the meeting shortly after the presentation started.
Thanks, Ashley.
I just want to add my thanks, as Jack knows, and Ted. Economic development, I believe, is a core of how we keep our community and region vibrant. So the work that you're all doing, most of it pro bono and volunteer or voluntold, depending on your position in your corporate lives, is incredibly important to all of us.
Now, Debbie Perkle would know that I never voluntold anybody in my organization to do,
because it really does take a. Oh, please, Jack. The closer I've gotten to you as I've served, the better I know of that statement. But again, my thanks to all of you.
And Debbie is an unsung hero. She's doing a lot of quiet work behind the scenes in regards to the second chance individuals and all the things she's done. Debbie, you're quietly being effective behind the scenes, and what she's doing is going to replicate into the other two sectors, I know.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate the kind words.
Thanks. I know that Ashley, you were not part of the committee, but because we're all here together in our Hollywood Squares opportunity and our Brady Bunch, even if you're not on the committee, you are just as engaged and just as important as anybody who votes on this to tell us what your interests or questions you might have for anybody, because you're a mother, you're a father, you're somebody that's got an involvement, you're concerned about the economic health of our community. So anybody else that's on here that hasn't spoken up, even though you're not a committee member, please feel free to step forward, because this is a chance to ask these people who are doing this hard Mason's work out there. Foundation. Anybody else? Shana, anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it's Sunny.
Yeah, Sunny,
Simon.
please.
Just want to thank everybody. It seems like this is really, making progress, and I think better than I anticipated at the beginning, and all things considered what we're facing. So I just appreciate the work, and hopefully we can see some really positive results.
Sonny, I think with your involvement with education, you're going to see that there's so much linkage in all three of these sectors back to education. It's going to be very rewarding. I think you're going to find that the lines are going to get pretty fuzzy. They aren't going to exist anymore. They're going to just blend from one to the next. Anyone else? Any other comments out there? I think there was a video clip that was attached that came out. If anybody has a chance to look at that, I think you'll find that to be very interesting. And as everybody knows, my joking comment is I'm kind of in sales. Adam, do you want to make a sale of your January presentation as our closeout, or Kathy or whoever has got that pitch message?
Go ahead, Adam.
We are eager to share more details, and also, especially with the insightful questions asked today, I think will be good to get further input from both the county staff and the council members. So we will work through Ted and Jack to get a doodle out or coordinate calendars as appropriate, but really looking forward to being able to share a bit deeper about what's been going on and what we're going to be doing in 2021.
Well, congratulations to the IT sector, Craig, and all you're doing, and Kim on the medical, and Adam and all the rest of the team, and Kathy for your leadership, and Deborah for bringing forward, and for Michelle up there, Ted, for being our support to make sure you supported us all the way through on this. So looking forward to that and going forward. And thanks everybody else. We'll call it a day. Unless there is any other new business, we'll adjourn the meeting. Is there any miscellaneous business to be heard before the committee? Anybody brought it? Hearing none, we'll adjourn the committee. Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday season.